Welcome back to the Born and Bred Podcast. This is episode 8 of season 2, and we are your hosts, Brendan Gallagher
and Maria Lynn. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Haunting Hill Winery, located off of I-79 at the Stonewood exit. To schedule a wine tasting or your private event, call them at 304-475-9353.
I can feel your lies, they're coming around. The further I get from you, the closer I get to who I am. The further I get
back. We have been off for a little bit of a holiday break.
A hiatus, if you will.
Yes, and we're going to be wrapping up this season here. And we have a special guest today that we're real excited to introduce to you. But before we do that, we want to talk about what we just wrapped up. And so, as if you follow Born and Bred, you know that a lot of people look forward to what we started last year, which was the Born and Bred Readers Poll, and that has just wrapped. And we just wrapped that up, and we're getting ready to tally all of that. We will be announcing those winners on January the 27th. So that's Monday, January 27th, right?
Yep, yeah, so look out for that. And while we are chatting about this, Brendan, this year, and I think this happened last year too, but maybe a little bit more this year since our following has grown, these awards have stirred a little bit of controversy. So why don't we take this opportunity to clarify, though we have stated it on our social media platforms and we've provided instructions in terms of qualifications and all of that, but I think we have noted that there are certain people who like to jump to conclusions, if you will, on how this process works. So in the event that any of those people are listening now, why don't we clarify how that works, Brendan?
So when we started this last year, we really debated, like, do we want to get people together to help us pick who the nominees are, like a committee of sorts. Committee. And honestly, that felt like unfair because we could have some serious bias in that. And so what we wanted to do was create an unbiased process from our perspective where we are not determining this. And so we decided that we would put it out to our readers. Now, this is not like other readers' polls where you can vote daily and vote 100 times and really skew it. It's one vote per email. And we know when people create multiple emails. Last year, somebody, I'm just going to make up a name, was like fredthomas@gmail.com. And they went fredthomas1@gmail.com, fredthomas2@gmail.com. And
we were like, we see you, Fred Thomas.
Yeah, and it was like 20. It wasn't like 20 emails of that same thing. It's like, we know when you're doing that. And so those don't count towards the totals. We really go through these results and make sure that everything is equal and fair across the board. So with that said, when we wanted to put it out to the readers, we announced this back in early December, and the voting here, just let me go through the qualifications. It has to have been something that was released between December 1st of 2023 through November 30th of 2024. And then we started the nominations in December of 2024. Now, with that said, the requirements were that you had to put something out in that time frame, and it had to be original music. And let me tell you how strict we are on this. My co-host put out a song.
I did.
In 2024.
And it was nominated,
but it was a cover of the song Crazy Train.
And so
killed it, by the way.
Thank you. So therefore,
it did not qualify.
We eliminated it, yes.
Yeah, so that's how unbiased we are in this. Maria did not get nominated, even though she put something out in 2024.
Well, I got nominated. I just didn't, qualify for the, yes.
But because it was a cover, it just didn't qualify. And so, and then everybody has to be aware of this process. Now, some people came to us and were mad they weren't nominated. We received multiple messages criticizing us for not being culturally aware, for not respecting somebody because of who they are in the industry, blah, blah, blah. And the reality is that wasn't on us.
Right. If nobody nominated you, nobody nominated you. And if you didn't put out music in the allotted time frame, you didn't put out music in the allotted time frame. It's really as simple as
I've heard people say, how the heck were the Davison Brothers not nominated? Well, the Davison Brothers didn't put anything out in 2024.
And they were nominated last year.
Yeah, they were nominated in the previous year. So, we really try to make sure this is fair and equal across the board. And we are not trying to give preference to anybody. And it is what it is. And honestly, you could nominate yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, and what's interesting is I think the individuals, not all, but some of the individuals who pushed back on us or asked why they weren't nominated, et cetera, are like people that weren't even necessarily on our radar.
Yeah.
And weren't necessarily like heavily following us. So it's sort of funny how there are some people who don't even seem to be following Born and Bred until they see this voting thing, and then they decide to be offended. And it's like, well, if you just paid attention to what we're doing, you would understand why you weren't nominated or why you didn't qualify, or if you weren't nominated, like share what we're doing on your socials, and then maybe your fans will nominate you. Like, it's pretty simple and it's pretty clear.
So with that said, make sure you're following along. And that's the easiest way to know when this all is happening. Pay attention to what we're doing, guys. We are here to help you. This doesn't do much for us. We really are doing this for you guys. I put this out there the other day that if there's over 100 people that have been nominated in this cycle, if each one of them were able to get 100 people from their own following to follow us, that would be 10,000 new followers to Born and Bred, meaning 10,000 new people that would be hearing about all of the music happening in this state. The more followers we get on what we're doing, the more people are going to hear about all
Everybody
of you.
else.
It's not just going to be one artist that's being heard about.
Right.
And that's our goal here, is to get everybody elevated into a different level of attention. So, sorry if you weren't nominated, but I promise you, not at all intentional on our part. It was not a slight towards anybody. That's how the process works. And we feel that it's the fairest way for us to do things, and the way that makes sure that we are not showing preferential treatment to anybody.
Right, which is why we call it a reader's poll.
Yeah, it's not the Brendan and Maria poll.
Yeah.
So just we wanted to throw that out there. You have anything else you want to say on that?
Yeah, quickly, I would also like to touch on the fact that part of the fun part of going through this process of, like, when we went through all the nominations, is discovering new artists that we didn't know. And that was really fun for me, because at this point, we know a lot of artists in the state. So when we find a new one and they're good, it's kind of thrilling. Yeah,
that happens pretty frequently. Or we're reminded about an artist that, they were on our radar, but maybe we just didn't get a chance to dig in the way we wanted to.
Like if they released something maybe in January of last year, so it's been a while, and it's like, oh yeah, they are great. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it's fun for us. And we always do both times that we've done this now. We find out about musicians we did not know about. So we don't claim to know everything about the West Virginia music scene, but we do feel like we have our finger on the pulse of what's happening for the most part. So if you want to be involved in what we're doing and you want to know what's happening, follow along with us. Message us when you're putting something out so that we can cover it for you.
And please be patient with us if we do miss something. I mean, our dream is for every artist that's putting out music to let us know ahead of time that they're putting it out. We have a calendar that we mark that down on for our new release posts. But, sometimes somebody doesn't let us know, we miss it, and then after the fact, they might get offended that we didn't share it. And we're really not out trying to offend people or play favorites. We just need people to work with us in getting us the information ahead of time. So
this is where, as a musician, you got to kind of take control of your own career, and you've got to make sure that we're just part of your release process. You're putting this out, and I'm putting this out January 24th, and I need to let Born and Bred know at least 2 weeks beforehand. I mean, if you did it the week of, it's fine. Still, it doesn't matter. But it would be nice to have some lead time on it.
Sure.
But I mean, honestly, as long as you let us know the day before you release it, we're going to cover it. But the sooner the better. So anyhow, we're here to help you guys. And please know that this is all love on our part. And we truly are passionate about what musicians are making in this state. So with that said, reach out to us at editor@bornandbredmusic.com if you want to send us your music. And we get and I will say this, kudos to you, those of you who do this. Kudos to those of you who are constantly reaching out to us and saying, hey, I'm putting this out. You guys want to hear it early so you can write about it or cover it. We are here to do that, and we love doing that. So let us help you. Anyhow, with that said, we're going to roll into our conversation we had with some good friends of ours. They came alongside of us to sponsor our Stomping Ground series, which we just recently put that out. The newest artist in that, which is Ashley Renee, her most recent, she's got 2 videos out now on the Stomping Ground series. And we have one more artist coming from season 1, and
very
we're very excited about this.
We're very
it's going to be
about this
so
one.
good.
Yeah.
We've already seen it. It's so good.
It's so good. This is going to be new to a lot of you.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun one.
A lot of the, I think, acts that we had on this first season of Stomping Grounds were bands and artists that we had talked about before that our audience was probably like heard us talk about, they were familiar with, but this one should be very new to a lot of people, and you're going to be blown away.
Yep.
That's all we'll say.
That's all we'll say. So anyhow, this organization, business, came alongside of us and sponsored our Stomping Ground series, and we're very grateful for our friends at Stone Tower Coffee. These guys have been amazing to work with. We love them. And so we sat down with Tyler and Justin from Stone Tower and had a conversation just about what makes them tick and what they're passionate about. A lot of people don't know this, but Tyler is a singer in an amazing band called Commonwealth. And they are very well known, and he's an amazing vocalist. So here's our conversation with Tyler and Justin. And welcome into the Born and Bred podcast, Justin and Tyler from Stone Tower Coffee. Thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. So I just want to talk to you, for those of you who don't know, but Stone Tower has come on board as our sponsors / partners in our Stomping Ground video series that we're very excited about. And, there's a collaborative nature to everything we try to do. And it was great finding out that the folks at Stone Tower were as passionate about music as we are. And so I just want to talk to you a little bit about, why do you feel like this is important for Stone Tower to be involved in what's happening in West Virginia music?
I just mostly feel like it's important just for the collaborative aspect, because we've always wanted to be involved with the community, but there was never really anything going on between music and coffee that really kind of brought it together. I remember when Ben came to us and was like, hey, would you be interested in doing something with the Born and Bred folks? And I really didn't even know what you guys would want at that point. It was kind of like, where can we bridge this gap and create a connection to your guys' space? And I feel like this is a good start to that.
Yeah.
Maybe Justin has something to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, collaboration in general, I feel like is very important for the art scene, whether it be creatives across the state or whatever field they might be in. I feel like we've really kind of bridged the gap in a lot of areas, working with Mountain Craft recently and setting up for the Robinson Grand, the film festival, and getting to do this, I think, is just a great opportunity to meet new people at the same time and just really kind of get into the community and see what everything's all about.
When Maria and I created the idea of Stomping Grounds, we were like, we want to get a sponsor on this. Who do we want to be? And both of us are like, Stone Tower. And that was always our goal, was to collaborate with you guys on this, because, when you go into your shops, you see that you guys support the arts, you support local artists, and that, people have the opportunity to actually buy local art in your venues. And so we figured, they've got to have this. And so finding out that you guys are as passionate about music as you are the visual arts and craft type artists and things like that was just exciting for us.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Stone Tower's world. So, recently, this past year, you guys opened up the Morgantown location.
Yeah.
And what else is happening in Stone Tower over the next, that you're allowed to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, right, but we're currently in a really small space at the Roastery, and we are hoping to get out of said small space at the Roastery sooner rather than later. That's something that we're kind of working with the city of Fairmont, and the community there. We're kind of known for renovating old rundown buildings. So that's kind of maybe the hint as to what we're going to be doing next. Right now, we're just smashed an 800 square foot room, making everything happen from there. But yeah, I hope to kind of grow with the community of Fairmont more. I know it means a lot to the company in general, because that's where it started. We're literally in the same building where it started, 4 shops deep, and we're still there. So yeah, you can imagine the space is pretty cramped, but yeah, I think that, we want to keep growing in areas where there's a demand for, the coffee shop. And we talked about that earlier, is a community needs that space, needs that hub, just to have a watering hole, like you said, which I really like that reference. So I'm hoping we can keep doing that, but really just strengthening the foundation at this point is where we're at.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to ask one question of each of you.
Okay.
Your favorite coffee that you're going to get when you go into a Stone Tower?
My favorite coffee as of right now, or that we've
Past
ever
or
had?
present.
Well, I mean, I guess I would say what's your go-to right now?
My go-to right now, if I was to go into the shop, I would say if I go into the shop and I'm going to get like some sort of filter coffee, I'm probably going to go for the Jose Santos Gonzalez, which is a Honduran natural coffee, or the Ovidio Gomez, which is also a Honduran coffee. It's part of like our direct trade series. That's the one that has a ton of blueberry coming out in it. So either one of those two right now.
All right, Justin?
I know what past coffee he's talking about because I feel like we both agree on that. But Ovidio Gomez for me, I really like fruity coffees. I gravitate more towards like the natural roasts versus a washed or a honey process. I forget what coffee company it is, but they call it their funk level. I like the funk when I taste a coffee. Past coffees, I think we'll both agree on this. We had a coffee from Colombia. It was from Cafe Granja, and it was called Tres Dragones. And the first time I tasted that coffee, it was like a fruit bomb in your mouth, and you didn't know exactly if you liked it or you didn't at first.
Yeah.
And then you keep trying it, and you're like, this is amazing.
It was almost spicy. It was like weird because it, like, you know, when you eat a pineapple, it's like the acidity of it like really hits your tongue. That's how this coffee was. And you could smell it through the whole shop. So if somebody was grinding it up front, I could smell it in the manager's office all the way in the back. It's just very unique. It was one of those things when a customer came in and they had no idea what they wanted. That's what you offered them, because it was just like a crazy entry into the specialty coffee world. And I think Justin just recently was talking with a customer, like a longtime regular in Buchanan, about this. Is like, that's the coffee that changes perspective on like what coffee could be, like versus like you know you're used to your Dunkin' and your Starbucks and all that.
I think a goal for me when I was a barista was getting people to step outside of their comfort zone. Whether that be coffee or beer, because you have people come in that are used to what they grew up on, Maxwell House or Folgers or whatever it may be, and that's what I grew up on as well. So having them try something like Tres Dragones when they came in and seeing their reaction, whether it be good or bad, getting that initial reaction like, whoa, that's crazy. I don't know if I like that, but thank you for letting me try it. Or, wow, that's amazing. Let me try more. Just seeing that perspective change or flip, or even just having them have an opportunity to try something new, I think was really cool to see.
Yeah,
that aspect.
Very cool. So as you can tell from listening to these two, if you ever get a chance to pop into a Stone Tower, neither of them are there, pick their brain on coffee, because they can talk all day about it, and it's really awesome to see how you guys are passionate about coffee as almost like an art form in and of itself. And so that's really cool to see. You know, like I think a lot of people don't realize the behind the scenes that goes into deciding this is the coffee we're going to brew and we're going to create this flavor for people to try, and that it's not just I'll just grab this and we're going to roast this and put it out. That you guys put a lot of thought into what you're going to do. So real quick, I just want to ask you this: how do you decide? Okay, there's this new thing I want to try, and how do you end up getting from point A to point B? So how do you do that?
I feel like there's a big gray area there. Like, people just truly don't know. So really what we do is, I mean, at this point, we're fortunate enough to have different importers and companies that we work with that work directly with these farmers. So like the Ovidio Gomez and the Jose Santos Gonzalez, those are farms that we work with as directly as you possibly can from America. So we go through a coffee importer. His name is Benjamin Paz. He's from Honduras. We actually met him at the Coffee Expo this year, but he introduces us to these farms and these farmers that have very small micro lots, like 1 or 2 hectares of land that they're just growing coffee on. And they offer samples to us. So they send like 50-gram samples, and we roast them in a test roaster, and then we cup them on a table, which is similar to a wine tasting. And then we decide whether this is a coffee that we want to serve or not. Like, does this represent us? Is this collaboration genuine? Is it something that we want to having our shops to represent them as well as ourselves. So that's kind of how point A to point B, really it's contacting these farms and getting samples. And then we decide if we want to contract full bags, which is generally like a 150-pound burlap sack of coffee. And then they literally ship it overseas to us. It's a long process.
Right.
And it takes a while, depending on if we've pre-ordered crop, or if it's something that's already available that, it's dwindling.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is happening. They say, hey, we have this coffee. It's super popular. It's a really good crop this year. We've already sold this many. We have this many left. So sometimes you got to jump on it. And you may not even have time to sample it and just hope to God that it's a good coffee when you get it. But yeah, a lot of times we just get a small bag of samples in and we spend all day roasting and cupping those and deciding which direction we want to go with that.
Have you ever had one where you got to sample it, you were excited about it, and you went to order it and it was already gone?
Yeah, there was a couple Ethiopians recently that we sampled that I really wanted to get for a collaboration that I want to do in the spring that were already gone before we had even roasted the samples.
Oh wow.
So, that is what it is. It sucks when that happens. And like the Tres Dragones, I've been trying to get it since.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to get in contact sometimes with the farmers as well, depending on if the importer still works with them or not, and yada yada. There's a lot of behind the scenes on that, but I really want to get Tres Dragones back. Specifically wish we could go back to that circa 2020, 2019 crop that we had. It was so good.
Yeah. We did have a coffee, I believe it was from India, that we got in as a sample. We were all hoping it was going to be very good because the name was very metal. It was called Monsoon Malabar.
Yeah.
And that would have been a sick one to name and go off of. But
we did have one called Carbonic Maceration that we put out that I actually took a lot of reference from a death metal band that I like, the Black Dahlia Murder, and did the artwork for it. And just the carbonic maceration is a process of coffee. It's like, gosh, I don't even know if I can get into the details, but it's a carbon dioxide rich environment that they ferment this coffee in, and then that creates carbonic maceration. And I was like, that's so metal. We got to release that with that same kind of artwork that they have. Really cool. Yeah, that was actually one of my favorites too.
Mm-hmm. I very much wish that this podcast was video so that people could have seen Justin almost tear up just now when you were talking about the coffee that you wish you could get back in.
Yeah.
There was a longing in your eyes.
There was emotion there. Yeah.
We talk about it all the time.
We do.
Literally once a week.
Really good right now?
Tres.
Yeah, Tres.
Tres would be great right now.
We have had people, it's called Tres Dragones. We've had people come in. It's really funny when they kind of pronounce some of our coffees. We had one person come in one time and say, I want that tree dragon coffee.
Yeah.
You're really I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I like that name a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. This is actually why we came up with regular coffee, because there were so many people that came in. They were like, I just want a regular cup of coffee. I don't want none of this fancy stuff. And you're like, all right, we got you. So we came up with that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Justin and Tyler, again, thanks for coming on. Thank you for sponsoring what's happening here with Born and Bred. We really appreciate you guys partnering with us on Stomping Grounds, and we look forward to working with you guys in the future. And again, if you are wanting a great cup of coffee, we highly recommend going to any stone tower located in Buchanan, Bridgeport, Fairmont, and Morgantown, correct? Mm-hmm. All right, stop by there, and you can find them on Facebook, and they're everywhere. So check them out. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much for checking out our conversation with Tyler and Justin from Stone Tower. Really appreciate them coming to talk to us and everything they do to help grow the music scene here in West Virginia. Be sure to get their coffee if you're local to them. They've got locations all over the place, and pick up some great coffee from Stone Tower. And we will see you guys on the next one.